Hello everyone, welcome back once again. I'm Nicodemus Kane. Today is March 29th of 2023. We are almost out of March. Wow. So it is a 329. These are the numbers that I have seen almost constantly everywhere for the past 4 years. Kind of like 9/11. The numbers 9/11 or 11/9 or any combination thereof I've seen many times, going back in the past, especially in the old TV shows of the 50s, 60s, 70s, and 80s. Not to mention the 201, not to mention the 311, not to mention all these other numbers that you see over and over and over again. And a lot of people say these things don't exist. But they just either can't or won't see it. And for them, I feel sorry. I really do. But they constantly pop up everywhere. You constantly see these same numbers over and over. It's like the 33s. You see 33s everywhere. It is this stink of numerology that is on everything. And so many people just think that numbers mean nothing. Well, if numbers mean nothing, why do they keep popping up? And I keep telling everyone, it's either man or mankind, are using these numbers to signal to each other some kind of secret hidden language which we cannot possibly understand. Or this is some higher power causing these numbers to be there to show us what's going on, to show us the truth. I absolutely do think that all of these numbers, in some way, shape, or form, are ordained by God to be there for some reason or another. At the same time, I also believe that the devil twists and manipulates everything that God has made to fit his agenda. So therefore, 33 may very well be a holy number. It may very well be a godly number for some reason that we cannot fathom. But Freemasons have used that number for their own means, for their own rituals, for their own reasons. 9/11 within itself could be a very holy number, and yet you have 2001. 329 is a number that I've seen. 923, 239, any combination of the two. 236, I've been seeing 236 a lot as well. Could be something. What? I don't know. By itself, the 329, 3 times 2 is 6, so it becomes a 69 or a 66, either way you want to put it. I used to do this stuff back in high school because I was like the edgy kid that I could make any number come down to a 6, because, 666, ooh, back in the day. Back whenever I was a teenager, like I said, I did not start this road being a Bible believer. I started this road as something completely different. That's why I pray to God every day to forgive me for the crap that I used to do in my life. But I used to be able to take every number down to either a 3 or some variation of 666 or 6 by itself. I never understood why. It was just something I did. Just, like a brain game, just to keep my mind going. So I could see the 6s, I could see the 3s, I could see them over and over again, here and there, multiplying up, multiplying down. It got to the point to where I could just do it on command. And then I just kind of grew out of it. I stopped doing it. Every now and then I'd see a number and I'd be able to say, oh, this goes up to here, that can do this, that can do that. It wasn't until, man, how old was I? About 36, 37? When I found out what gematria was. really started understanding what it was all about. And it blew my mind. I was like, well, I used to do that as a kid. I used to be able to do that as a kid all the time. And so I started seeing numbers in a different way. It wasn't just that the numbers could be manipulated and changed. It was that the numbers are always there, always in the background, always doing something, sometimes always in the foreground. You may not think it, but every time you look at a news report or a headline in a newspaper or whatever it is for some event or something, the numbers are always there. It has gotten down so much so to the point that people will point out the timestamps that these news reports are placed on the internet. Timestamps: 2:33 p.m., 9:11 a.m., 11:33, whatever, And it goes like that. The dates mean something. The months and the dates mean something. Over and over and over again. I thought I was going crazy when I started seeing them. And then I started telling people. And everybody started telling me I was crazy because I'm seeing them. But they're there. It's constant. It's repeating. So I'm going to say right now, it is a 329. I don't know why. I have been put in this place to be able to see these numbers. But I'm going to say, be wary. Be prepared. Watch your back. Watch for events. Watch the world. See what happens. Because they use the numbers. Whether or not you believe that these numbers are real, those powers, the evil powers in charge, they use the numbers. So keep that in mind. Just keep that in mind. And if you don't believe me, you don't believe me, that's fine. I always have a challenge. I always have a challenge for those people that don't believe me. If you don't believe me that those numbers have been there forever and a day, then every time you're watching a TV show, every time you're watching a movie, whatever it is, I challenge you to watch it twice. Watch the episode twice. Watch the movie twice. Most people are on streaming services now, so this is not a hard thing to do, to watch something twice. I challenge you to watch it twice, or watch it once. If you can see it once, then you've got it. But keep a notepad and a pencil ready. Every time you see a number, or hear a number, or whatever it is, just write it down. Just write it down. I know it's ruining your immersion in the TV show, and most people are so hypnotized by the television that they can't think of anything else besides what's going on the TV. But every time you hear a number, every time whatever it is, just jot it down. If you see a clock in the background, write down what numbers the hands are on. If it's on a 3, if it's close to an 11 or something, just write it down. Whatever it is, just write it, just jot it down. Anytime you hear a number in a letter, like, locker box 3B or locker box, 2A or whatever, write that down. And then write down whatever number the letter is in the alphabet. Just write it down. Start seeing the patterns. Start seeing and don't just do it for one show. Do it for a whole week. One whole week of just looking at shows, writing down any number you see in the background. Don't look at the actor. Look behind him. Look in the background. Look on the walls. Look in the whatever. Listen to what they say. It is amazing. For a long time, I was just looking at the background. I wasn't ever listening to what people say. But it is uncanny how many times you will hear somebody repeat a certain number over and over. Like, for instance, somebody will say, how many of these things were in that box? And somebody might say, well, there were 6. The other guy will say, 6, are you sure? He said, yep, 6. And then they'll move on with their lives. And you're like, they just dropped a 666 on you and you didn't even hear it. You didn't even know it. It is unbelievable how many times that happens. It actually blew my mind when I really stopped and heard it. It could just be all a cosmic accident, just a fluke. Oh, hey, they just happen to have done it that way. But when it's repetitive the way that it is, there's something more to it. So, with all of that being said, we're gonna move on. I needed to say that. Some people don't grasp that concept. And as much as I've tried to explain it to people, they just don't get it. My wife, thankfully, she gets it now. She's actually able to show me now whenever we're watching a show or something. She'll be like, oh, did you see the, and I'm like, yeah, honey, good job. You're actually starting to get it now. Because I had to show her. Every time something popped up, I had to stop and show her. And I had to say, look right there. I did it with a couple of the Twilight Zone episodes, which whenever I did it, they didn't record on the video because apparently there's some kind of a copyright something or other whenever you try to record Hulu directly on your computer. So it just turned out to be a blank screen. Turned out to be a black screen, and I was told, hey, it's not showing up. And I'm like, oh, shit. So there's got to be a better way for me to do it. But it was all over the place. 21, 27, 33. September 11th. September 11th popped up like 3 different episodes in 3 different places. Not just a clock, but on, what was the elevator? There was one that had an elevator. It wasn't just the 9/11 because it was like the 10th floor was a different light from the 9 and the 11, but also it was because all of the numbers on the elevator added up to 33 or something like that. And then there was a journal entry from a Civil War thing, a date. It was September 11th, and there was another one where the date was September 11th, and then there was something else. I can't remember exactly what it was. But it was over and over and over again. And you're just kind of stuck thinking, why would they do that? And people may not think about it. People may they may be like, oh, it's just coincidence. The clocks just happen to be stopped right then. No, you don't understand how movies work. They have to physically stop the clocks when they're filming a movie. Because if they don't stop the clocks, you will notice the clock in the background will be out of sequence. Because sometimes it may take 2, 3, 4 hours to film one scene. That's what people don't seem to understand about movies, is that if you leave a clock running in the background, you will see the clock having 5 different times on it. So they have to stop those clocks. And they stop those clocks on very specific times. Why? I don't know. I don't know why. I don't know if it's because it's a certain date that means something to somebody or what, but more than likely, it either stops on a 9/11, a 2:01, or a 3:11. Sometimes you see 3 o'clock. Exactly 3 o'clock. I've said this before about animations. You will have the big hand on the 12, you have the little hand on the 3. Or you will have the little hand on the 3, the big hand on the 6. That's a 3-6. Or what was the other one? Sometimes you'll see 9 o'clock, which is 3 9s, which, is what it is. All kinds of different things. It's a 24-hour satanic clock, 666 clock. And it is. 60 seconds, 60 minutes, 24 hours. Cut into 12 hours each, where it's 15 minutes at a time, and you have the four cardinal numbers of 3 separating them. The whole system's rigged. This was. You can say it might have been handed down by God, but I still think that they took the numbers and manipulated it to where they wanted it to be. Anyways, that's enough about that. I need to stop talking about numbers because a lot of people don't want to hear it. It's like I said, a lot of people hear the numerology stuff and they're like, nah, it's not real. That's not real. You're looking too far into coincidences. Well, again, if it was looking too far into coincidences, then why is it constant? One time is a thing. Twice is a coincidence. 3 times is a pattern. That's all I gotta say. And I don't believe in coincidences anymore. Alright. 329. That's all I gotta say about that. Just look. 329. It's out there. Everybody likes to say, oh, you're just thinking about the movie 23 with Jim Carrey. Well, yeah. They wanted to get in front of that bullet. They wanted to get in front of it before people really started waking up to it. Because the number 23 is out there a lot. But what people don't seem to realize is that where there's a 23, there's a 9 right beside it. It's all over the place. It's time to start waking up to this stuff, man. It's time to start really seeing that this whole world has been manufactured. Really, really manufactured. I've only been talking about this for years now. So anyways, we're back on Ecclesiastes. We are going to, today, tomorrow, and Friday, it's Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, we should be finishing this up before I go down to Florida for the week. So, let's read these, or read chapter 10 today, and then we'll get 11 and 12 for the next 2 days. I was going to say something profound there, but it completely slipped my mind. Okay. Which seems to be happening more and more. I don't know if it's just because of older age or what. I'm trying to keep up with more memory games. It feels like my memory is slowly fading. I mean, not like quick. It's not like I'm just randomly forgetting things, it feels like thoughts that I have that pop up, if I don't immediately say them or immediately write them down, they just kind of slip away and then I forget them. So it kind of sucks. But I'm trying to keep ahead of it. I'm trying to keep my mind from going completely crazy. So anyways, Ecclesiastes chapter 10. Dead flies cause the ointment of the apothecary to send forth a stinking savor. So doth a little folly him that is in reputation for wisdom and honor. A wise man's heart is at his right hand, but a fool's heart at his left. Yea, also, when he that is a fool walketh by the way, his wisdom faileth him, and he saith to every one that he is a fool. If the spirit of the ruler rise up against thee, leave not thy place, for yielding pacifieth great offenses. There is an evil which I have seen under the sun, as an error which proceedeth from the ruler. Folly is set in great dignity, and the rich sit in low place. I have seen servants upon horses, and princes walking as servants upon the earth. He that diggeth a pit shall fall into it, and whoso breaketh an hedge, a serpent shall bite him. Whoso removeth stones shall be hurt therewith, and he that cleaveth wood shall be endangered thereby. If the iron be blunt, and he do not whet the edge, then must he put to more strength, but wisdom is profitable to direct. Surely the serpent will bite without enchantment, and a babbler is no better. The words of a wise man's mouth are gracious, but the lips of a fool will swallow up himself. The beginning of the words of his mouth is foolishness, and the end of his talk is mischievous madness. A fool also is full of words. A man cannot tell what shall be, and what shall be after him. Who can tell him? The labor of the foolish wearieth every one of them, because he knoweth not how to go to the city. Alright, there's Pilcrow at 16. Oh, see right there, see you're babbling too much. Well, maybe I am babbling too much. It still gets me that somebody said that. This guy babbles, this guy talks way too much, he just needs to get to the point. Well, you know, these videos are not scripted. They never are. I sit down, we talk about current conspiracy events or whatever else is happening. Then we read a chapter from the Bible, we talk about it, and that's it. That's the way this channel has been for the past, how long has it been now? 2 years? 3 years? That's the way it's been. Before that, I used to just sit and talk for hours on end. But nobody's watched those videos. I know nobody's watched those videos because they don't have any views. But yeah, it was. I used to sit and play Minecraft for 2 or 3 hours at a time. It's just talking about stuff, and it blows my mind still to this day that those videos have not been pulled for the things that I used to talk about. But then I started showing my face. Then I started showing my face sitting down in front of the camera and just talking about whatever it was. I had the ability at the time to be able to start putting together concepts, understanding things in a very specific way, making notes. You know, life has changed for me a lot. It really has. I'm not able to have that time that I used to. It seems like I used to be able to go to work and have a notebook, and I could sit there and listen to things and be able to write it down, and then come home and then research it, and then, you know, be able to put it out there. I used to have a lot more free time. I don't anymore. We have grandchildren now. What do you expect? My every waking moment is almost dedicated to, you know, the little kid in the house. But it's the way it used to be. I never used to script this stuff. You don't like the way I babble? I'm sorry. It is what it is. It gets me every now and then. But I understand it. It's in the Bible. It says, you know, what did it say again? And a babbler is no better. I get that. I absolutely get that. I'm not here to be your teacher. I'm not here to be your prophet. I'm not here to be whatever. I'm here to try to tell the truth as plainly as I possibly can. If I babble, then I babble. I ask the Father also that I get wisdom, and I get the ability to be able to speak plainly and clearly. Maybe some people should be praying to God that they get the discernment of their ears. Maybe. Let's go start back up at the top. Dead flies cause the ointment of the apothecary to send forth a stinking savour. So doth a little folly him that is in reputation for wisdom and honor. So, dead flies and the ointment of the apothecary send forth a stinking savour. So that is something you don't want in an ointment. Okay? So doth a little folly him that is in reputation for wisdom and honor. He who has the reputation for wisdom and honor will become ruined by a little folly. That's the way I need to say it. A wise man's heart is at his right hand, but a fool's heart is at his left. There's a lot to be said there. There really is. Anybody remember back in the day, especially back in the 80s when I was a kid, I remember hearing stories that if you were left-handed, if you were left-brained, if you were anywhere on the left at all, there was something wrong with you. That it wasn't natural. Now, we didn't believe it, of course, because we were taught, that's just the way people are. There are some people that are left-handed, some people that are right-handed, some people that are left-brained, some people that are right-brained, some people that do this, do that. But I remember hearing the stories that people that were left-handed, I could swear it was sometimes they were considered either demonic or they were considered, I don't want to say evil. Well, maybe evil. I don't know. Possessed, I guess. Part of that came out in the movie series V, whenever the lizards took over, the humans. Whenever they killed the humans or whatever they would do to the humans, and then the lizard would take their place, and they started writing with their left hand. Everybody thought it was weird. And it was like, that was just part of it. But that was a story you used to hear. That's something I could definitely try to follow up on, to see if there's any kind of other stories that have to do with that. But that used to be a thing. You always follow with your right hand. At the same time, we talk about the mark of the beast will be a mark in the right hand or in the forehead, because people do more actions with their right hand. There are far more right-handed people than there are left-handed people. I'm not trying to pick on left-handed people. I'm just saying these are the stories that used to be told. These are the things that used to be there. I remember these things. This is what they talked about. It didn't mean that people that were left-handed were cruel, evil, whatever. I'm just saying that's what they used to think. I don't even know if that's true anymore, because again, that's what somebody else told us. So I don't even know if it's true. But it's there. It's a thing. It's something that we can talk about. But that says a lot. A wise man's heart is on his right hand, but a fool's heart is at his left. It just makes you think. Everybody wants to have a right-left paradigm. Well, there you go. I just got political on you. Verse 3, Yea also, when he that is a fool walketh by the way, his wisdom faileth him, and he saith to every one that he is a fool. When he that is a fool walketh by the way, his wisdom faileth him. If the spirit of the ruler rise up against thee, leave not thy place, for yielding pacifieth great offenses. Well, see, there it is again, Romans 8. If the spirit of the ruler rise up against thee, let's go ahead and tear this apart. I want to make sure that's exactly what this says. If the wind, spirit, temper, anger, if the spirit of the ruler to rule, to have dominion, of that person that rules over you, what did that say? Governor, rise up, if the spirit of the man in charge goes up, goes over against thee, leave not thy place. Leave not thy place. If the spirit of the ruler goes up against thee, leave not thy place. Stand firm. Is that what that says? That says, leave not thy place. Do not move. Do not be moved. Is that what that says? For yielding, and I look at this, for yielding, the word yielding, curative, a medicine, abstractly a cure, figuratively deliverance. For yielding, health, profits, healing. For healing pacifieth, to give rest, great offenses. Let me see what the base word for that is. If it will go. Why are we not going? A means of healing, remedy, medicine. Curative, literally. That's weird. Let's go back even further. Cease, consume, draw, fail. To sink. To let drop, abandon, relax. For relaxing, for stepping back pacifies great offenses. That's definitely one to contemplate. That's definitely one to sit back and think about. If the spirit of the ruler rises up against you, and it's not an evil thing, leave not thy place. For yielding pacifieth great offenses. There's something more to that I am missing right now. I will be looking more into that later. But we're going to keep going, okay? We're going to keep going. Hopefully that will come back to it. Do you want me to look at some cross references here? Because they do. They have 1 Samuel. What is this? Chapter 8:3. Let me see what this is. I mean, it's right here. Ecclesiastes chapter 8, verse 3. Be not hasty to go out of his sight. Stand not in an evil thing, for he doth whatsoever pleaseth him. I counsel thee to keep the king's commandment, and that in regard of the oath of God. Now remember, I talked about that one before. I said, keep the king's commandment as long as it has to do with God's commandments. Over and over again, it says that the kings and the rulers are sent by God, and that we need to follow them. But when the king gives you a commandment that goes against the Father, goes against the Most High, you don't follow it. And we've seen examples of that over and over and over. Remember, if Christ was following the commandments of the kings, of the princes, of whatever it was, he would not have been doing what he did. Paul, Peter, if they would have been following the commandments of the kings, you would never have heard of them. Daniel, it's the same way. Hell, Joshua to a point did some of the same things. They didn't listen to the king. They went out on their own, did their own thing. So keep that in mind. Now, I'm not saying that you need to jump up and rise up and rebel against the word. No. But whenever you give an order that goes against God's word, something that you were told by God to do, and then you have a king that tells you to do something else that's completely opposite of that, is that king following God's commandments? No, of course not. As far as I understand, it's always gone from God, family, country, right? Isn't that the way it always is? You follow God, then you follow your family, then you follow your country. Your country involves your king, your ruler. So God always comes first. So there's something more going on behind the scenes of that. A lot of people, again, they could look at those lines and they could cherry pick those lines and they could say, well, that just means to be submissive to anything your ruler says. Well, the way I read it, the way I understand it, over and over and over again, it says you are to be under the rule of your king because God puts them there. But what happens if you don't have a king? What if you have something called a president and a Congress whom people vote for that is not given to them by God, whom over and over again we are told to pick the lesser of two evils? That's not a king, that's not a ruler, that's not ordained by God. That's ordained by the people. God lets it happen, remember, because God gives us free will. God gives us free will, and He has told us over and over again, if you choose your rulers, if you choose your kings, you will fall. This will happen to you. That will happen to you. When the Israelites came out of Egypt and they asked for a king, that was what He said. He said, you won't get to choose. Because they kept saying, we want this guy. He said, no, I will give you a king. No, we want this guy. He said, all right, fine. You have him. You see what happens. And it turned out to be Saul. So, what do you want here? It's over and over and over again. It's the king's commandments. This was a completely different time. These were kings appointed by God to do right. But then it became kings that were appointed by man. And they have not followed one simple commandment of God. You tell me right now, if you can 100% look at somebody like Joe Biden, Trump, Obama, any of them for the past, 60 years, you tell me if they are truly following God's will. And then you come back and you tell me, well, we should be following them no matter what they say. No, that's not what my Bible says. Anyways, verse 5, there is an evil which I have seen under the sun, as an error which proceedeth from the ruler. There is an evil which I have seen under the sun, as an error which proceedeth from a ruler, from the ruler, which proceeds. The ruler himself has an evil that is under the sun. Folly is set in great dignity, and the rich sit in low place. Folly is set in great dignity, and the rich sit in low place. I have seen servants upon horses, and princes walking as servants upon the earth. I have seen rich men beg, good man steal, honest man lie. I've seen hard times. Hot times. Everybody talking about hard times. I have, what's the line? I have dined with kings and queens, and I've lived in castles and dined with kings and queens, something like that. And I have slept in alleys and ate pork and beans. Verse 8, he that diggeth a pit, and that's probably wrong, and I am sorry, Dusty, if I got that wrong. Verse 8, he that diggeth a pit shall fall into it, and whoso breaketh an hedge, a serpent shall bite him. That makes you think. He that diggeth a pit shall fall into it. Usually a pit, we're not just talking about digging a hole, digging a pit to snares and traps. If you dig you're digging a pit to ensnare someone. You're going to fall into it. And whoso breaketh an hedge, which a hedge was meant to be a fence. If you're breaking a fence, that means you're breaking to break into something. A serpent shall bite him. Whoso removeth stones shall be hurt therewith, and he that cleaveth wood shall be endangered thereby. Same concept. If the iron be blunt, and he do not whet the edge, then he must put to more strength. But wisdom is profitable to direct. It's a lot to really get into and try to explain. Some of it's self-explanatory, some of it's not. I'm going to leave that to you guys, because it's too early in the morning for me to be all like philosophical, fortune cookie-esque. Because a lot of this gets like that. Where are we at? I lost my place. 11. Surely the serpent will bite without enchantment. Will bite without enchantment. Will bite without charming. Enchantment, charming. I should have known that. I keep thinking about enchantment like a wizard spell enchantment, which is still the same thing. Surely the serpent will bite without enchantment, and a babbler is no better. And a babbler and a tongue, to use the tongue, to slander, and a slanderer. This is not just someone that talks a lot. This is a slanderer. I'm following this root word back. Slander, accuse, accuser. So where was it again? Surely the serpent will bite without enchantment, and an accuser is no better, a master of the tongue. Okay, there you go. The words of a wise man's mouth are gracious, but the lips of a fool will swallow up himself. That's another one too. The beginning of the words of his mouth is foolishness, and the end of his talk is mischievous madness. A fool also is full of words. Oh, see, there you go. You just got a lot of words. You're just talking too much. Hey. If that is what you think, that is what you think. You don't like the way I do it? Don't listen. I'm sorry. That's fine. Nobody's been listening to me for 5 years. You think that you telling me that you're not going to listen to me at this point is going to change anything? I'm doing my best here, guys. The fool also is full of words. A man cannot tell what shall be, and what shall be after him. Who can tell him? A man cannot tell what shall be. Man cannot see the future. And what shall be after him? Who can tell him? It would be interesting to know, but at the same time, it's just I have a concept of what's coming after me, the evil and darkness that's coming after this, after I leave this mortal coil. Wow, this mortal coil. I have a feeling I know what's coming after this. But I can't tell. I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know if people are going to get their crap together and things are going to change, or if it's going to keep getting worse and worse from here. The labor of the foolish wearieth every one of them, because he knoweth not how to go to the city. Alright, let's keep going. Verse 16. Woe to thee, O land, when thy king is a child, and thy princes eat in the morning. Blessed art thou, O land, when thy king is the son of nobles, and thy princes eat in due season, for strength and not for drunkenness. And there's a Pilk Road 18. So we'll go back up to 16. Woe to thee, O land, when thy king is a child. When thy king is a child. Let me see what's going on here. When thy king is young, a boy. To shake out, to show it. The root word of it is to shake out and show emptiness. When thy king is a child, when he is not smart enough to be able to know what he's doing, and thy princes eat in the morning. Now this one I don't really understand too much. To eat, devour in the morning. Why is eating in the morning not a good thing? Of course, then again, I've talked about this before too. This world tells you that breakfast is the most important meal of the day. I've said before, it seems to me that somewhere along the line, we went from eating 2 meals a day to eating 3 meals a day. They don't call it breakfast for nothing. Break fast. It's the first meal you're supposed to eat after you have a fast. That doesn't mean you eat it in the morning. Hell, there's been many days where I've woken up and I haven't really been hungry until lunch. I just wonder if that's the natural way, especially after a fast. That you're supposed, it feels like that's the way it is. Like we're not supposed to eat early in the morning. Something, and again, doctors, health professionals, and random Joe Schmo off the street will tell me, well, that's the way it's always been. Breakfast is supposed to always be the most important meal of the day. Who told you that? Who told them that? Who told the people before that? Not only that, but for all of what breakfast gives you, for all the meals that you could eat for breakfast, what are the number one meals that they tell you about? Well, the first is cereal, which is usually just nothing but sugar. Sugar and wheat, I guess. Corn. Is that really the best way to go? Well, no. Eat some eggs. Well, eggs are okay. Eggs are pretty fine, but what do you usually have with eggs? You have bacon. People love their bacon. People love their bacon so much they started putting bacon on other foods. If it's not bacon, it's sausage. They've gone out of their way to introduce pork into every meal possible. We've talked about pork. We've talked about why you probably shouldn't eat pork. Not even just biblical things. Just pigs have a lot of nasty stuff in their bodies because they live and eat and root in shit. They're very disgusting animals. You don't eat bottom feeders. That's just the way it is. You don't eat the animals that eat other animals or eat dead things or eat garbage. You just don't do it. It's nasty. It's disgusting. But people don't want to hear that. They want to say, oh no, it's clean. You got to cook it a certain way, cut it a certain way, and do a certain thing. Okay, fine, whatever. I'm not gonna argue against it anymore. I'm gonna do what I do, and if you have a problem with it, and if you want to talk to me about it, I'll talk to you about it. That's fine. But don't force me to do it. But that's invaded this thing we call breakfast. It's either sugar or pork. It's either one way or another. And I'm starting to wonder if we're not supposed to eat breakfast like that. I'm not saying it's not true. I'm not saying that breakfast is not an important meal. I'm not saying that we should all stop eating breakfast. What I am saying, though, is that there seems to be a correlation between weight gain, breakfast, and also a correlation between not eating breakfast and fasting the right way, and losing weight. Maybe there's something to it. I don't know. I'm just throwing that out there. It's you think of stuff like that, and then you see passages like this in the Bible. Woe to thee, O land, when thy king is a child, and thy princes eat in the morning. What does that even mean? And again, some Bible scholar can come up and be like, well, you see, this means that if they're eating like this, then something, something, something. Is it really what it means? See, we're not just looking for the simplest understanding here. We're trying to get down to the root. We're trying to figure this out. Maybe there's something more, and if there's not anything more to it, if it is something as simple as, it just means they're rich. Okay, whatever. Why not? I don't know. We're trying to figure this out because nothing makes sense in this world anymore. Verse 17, Blessed art thou, O land, when thy king is the son of nobles, and thy princes eat in due season. Okay, so we're talking about eating in the morning, but now we're talking about eating. Let me make sure eat is the right word. Eat, devour, feed. Eat in due season. Eat in the due times. Eat in their occasions. Let's follow that back a little bit more. Eat in of continued existence forever. Eat in due season for strength and not for drunkenness. They eat at their appointed times. Again, it's the same thing. This is talking about eating at a very specific time of the day. And then another one is talking about eating in their due times, but for strength and not for drunkenness. Let me look what drunkenness means. For drunkenness, to drink. I'm going to keep following it back here, see if I can find something else. Just for drunkenness. Drunkenness for doing evil deeds. For strength and not for drunkenness. They eat in their due times, but not in the morning. It's weird stuff like that I'm trying to figure out what's going on. Because a lot of this stuff, again, for as old as this was written, even if you don't want to believe, maybe it wasn't written in, 600, 800 BC, maybe it's, maybe it was only written in 1600 by King James, which I have a story about, by the way, which I will tell you after we're done here. But if you think that it was written in 1600, okay, then what the hell were they knowing? What the hell did they know in 1600 that we don't know now about not eating a meal in the morning? You see, again, you can't use the whole thing. Well, it was just created in the 1600s, and you can't use that because that means within 400 years we've lost some ability to understand why it is that these people didn't eat in the morning, and yet for some reason we do now. Why? What changed? We don't even know what they were eating 100, 200 years ago, let alone what they were doing 400 years ago, let alone what they were doing supposedly 3,000 years ago. We don't know what's going on. All we're doing is speculating. Anyways, let's keep going. Verse 18, By much slothfulness the building decayeth, and through idleness of the hands the house droppeth through. And that's one verse by itself. Pilcrows on each, 18, 19, and 20. It's just one verse by itself. By much slothfulness the building decayeth. By letting the house go, the house falls apart, and through idleness of the hands the house droppeth through. By just letting it sit there and rot, it's going to fall apart. I'm learning that firsthand with my mother's house. We haven't been able to get up there. We haven't been able to have an estate sale. We haven't been able to fix it up much. And I'll be damned if a raccoon didn't get in and trash the whole house. Broke a lot of stuff. Broke a lot of glass. Tore out the cabinets. Tore out whatever was left of the food, which it wasn't much food really. It was just, some cans and stuff, but got into everything it could. Completely trashed the place. Looked like somebody broke in, but they didn't steal anything. They just dumped stuff everywhere. By much slothfulness, the building decayeth. Which could mean not just a physical building somewhere, but it could also be your body, your life, the things that you do. And through idleness of the hands the house droppeth through. 19. A feast is made for laughter, and wine maketh merry, but money answereth all things. Now here's another one of those weird ones. A feast is made for laughter, okay? For laughter, for having fun. And wine maketh merry. Of course it does. But money answereth all things. But money, as in money, the root of it being greed, but money answereth all things, testifies, afflicts. Ooh. But money answereth all things, but it also afflicts all things. But greed afflicts all things. That's an interesting line. Verse 20, curse not the king, no, not in thy thoughts, and curse not the rich in thy bedchamber. For a bird of the air shall carry the voice, and that which hath wings shall tell the matter. So curse not the king, no, not in thy thoughts. Well, no, curse not. You're supposed to bless those that are even enemies. But again, these are kings that were sent by God. And curse not the rich in thy bedchamber. Well, it doesn't matter what the rich do, as long as the things that they do aren't completely destroying this world, which sadly we are finding out that I would say a good 90% of the 1% of the rich people in this world are doing things to hurt us and destroy us. That's just a fact, unfortunately. But curse not the rich in thy bedchamber, for a bird of the air shall carry the voice, and that which hath wings shall tell the matter. It reminds me of Odin and Odin's crows. But it's not the first time I've heard that story of birds that will hear something and will carry that information off to somebody else. I've heard that story before as a kid too. That especially when you're out in the woods or out near trees, out near where birds are, you should speak softly, because the birds can hear you and they can go tell somebody what you said. That's an old tale. That's a very old tale that I don't really hear too many people talk about too much. But it's another one of those things as a kid that I used to hear. I wish I could remember exactly why, what context it was. But it was always one of those. Just you speak softly around the birds. Maybe it was a Florida thing. I don't know. When I was growing up, maybe it was that. Maybe there's something else to it. But that's that same concept. Is there something more to that? Whatever happened to, it was about 4 years ago. I keep hearing it every now and then. Whatever happened to this whole concept about birds were fake? Anybody remember? Anybody that's in the conspiracy lines remember hearing something about that? People were saying that all the birds, that there are no more real birds anymore because they all died off. The only birds that are left in the world are robots, mechanical. They have, cameras in their eyes and they record everything. Anybody remember that? It was like the most ridiculous, absurd things ever, but it was like, it really got me thinking for a second. It really did, because it was right at the time whenever you just stopped seeing a lot of birds. I mean, still to this day, we don't see as many birds as we used to. We really don't. I think the birds went the same way as the bugs. You don't get very many bugs in the world anymore. It could very well be the amount of electromagnetic radiation that we're pumping out into the air, but that's just speculation. But there was a thing where they talked about birds being fake. It's like it stemmed from in the late 90s, the early 2000s, you would see the guys in the malls with the birds that they used to have the little flappy wing things. You flip the switch and you kind of throw the bird, and the bird would like do loops and stuff and come back to your hand or whatever it was. And then they said that was the kind of technology that they're using. The government is already 20 years ahead of this, and that they're creating these birds that can fly everywhere. What they do is they'll perch outside your house and they'll record everything you do, and they'll perch outside of Wall Street and they'll listen to everything you say and all that, all this kind of stuff. And it's like, it sounds crazy, but at the same time, no, I'm not saying it was true or not. I couldn't get any further past that, but but I remember hearing that back as a kid. You don't talk around birds. I don't know if that's just me, and I don't know if that's just, if it was just a local thing. But that was something. And yet again, your Bible is telling you, do not curse certain people, for a bird of the air shall carry the voice. And this isn't even just talking about, don't just say something about, any random Joe Schmo. Don't talk about the kings. Don't talk about the rich. As if the rich and the kings are the ones that control the birds. There's something going on there. I don't know what it is, man. It's very weird. Again, the Bible hands you these kinds of things, and you're just sitting there and you're just like, what is that? What is that? What is this whole thing about not trusting your princes and your kings that eat in the morning? Only trust the ones that eat at their due times. What's this about not talking in front of birds? What's that about? I don't know. It follows along with, just be careful. That's what it's saying. Be careful talking about the kings. Be careful talking about the rich. Yeah, you can have a feast for laughter, but money answers everything. I don't know, man. I don't know. Call me a fool if you want to, since I don't completely understand it right off the top of my head. And again, man, people can come up to me and say, you know what, this means this and this means that. Okay, but who told you that? Where did you get that information from? Because every time somebody tells me, oh, hey, this is this and this is that, they're coming from a place of, well, I've had, X amount of years in a seminary school, and I've had my preacher told me that this was the way it is. My preacher told me the way this is the way that is. It's like, well, I'm not your preacher and I'm not your prophet. I'm just a guy trying to figure it out. And the more I look into it, the less things make sense. So you tell me what this means. Anyways, let's go ahead and stop. Oh, no, wait, I wanted to tell you about the, so, I gotta look it up now. I posted it on Twitter. I gotta look it up again. So let's go with King James. King James the First. King James the First. We're gonna go right to Wikipedia. This is front-end Wikipedia. This is not something I have to dig for. This is front-end Wikipedia. King James. Let's look up the King James Bible. King James Bible. Front-end Wikipedia. This is not that hard to find. Now, let's look up... Oh, don't do this to me. I can't think of his name now. See if I can get rid of some of this stuff. See if it'll. Guy Fawkes. You know Guy Fawkes, the anonymous mask. With the twirled up mustache and the little thing. The one that he went to fight against the tyranny, supposedly the monarchy. Hold on a second. The guy that you're supposed to remember the 5th of November. That guy. The guy that we seem to put a lot of trust and faith into for fighting the power. V for vendetta. You know how that works? All that stuff? Okay. So, King James First. He ruled from 1603 to 1625. 1603, okay? Coronated in 1603. He was anti-Catholic. I don't remember where I saw that from. But he was. So much so to the point that he wanted to create a new Bible. A Bible that was not tainted by the Catholic Bible. He wanted to have a translation of the scriptures so that we could have it. So what he did was he commissioned the King James Bible. That's why we call it King James. In, what did it say, 1603? Is that what it said? Where'd it go? Now there's a lot of controversy about the translation's not that good. I get it. There's a lot of controversy about King James possibly being a Freemason. I get that. But it is part of the Reformation process that he wanted to have an English version because he wanted to have a version that was not tainted by the Church of England. Okay, we got this. 1604. He commissioned this. It wasn't completed until 1611 when the first edition came out. All right, you got this. Okay. Yes, the King James is not perfect. I get that. I absolutely get that. I've said that before. That's why I use a strong concordance, because it's not right. 1604. All right, you ready for this? Guy Fawkes, Mr. Anonymous Face himself, the guy that was supposedly fighting against the power. He tried, where was it at? The 5th of November, 1605. Tried to blow up the, where was it at? tried to blow up the House of Lords. I'm reading here, hold on. Tried to blow up the House of Lords, tried to kill King James because he was trying to reinstall a Catholic monarchy. Let's go back and say that one in a way that you might understand. The new face of conspiracy theorists everywhere. The Guy Fawkes mask, the white mask with the mustache and the beard, is based off of someone who was trying to kill the man, a Reformationist, that was trying to create a new English language Bible. He was trying to kill him and stop the Reformation so that they could reinstall and restore a Catholic monarch back on the throne. That's something I didn't know. I was told that Guy Fawkes was just trying to fight the power. He was just trying to fight the monarchy. He was just trying to fight the evils, the evil men, the corrupt men that was running the country into the ground, supposedly. No, he was trying to put Catholics back in charge because of the Reformation. I didn't know that. Yet again, I say, we know nothing. What we are told, we may not have been told the truth, but we're definitely not told the complete truth. Now here's another thing too, just to throw this out there because you know me, I love to really get into this kind of stuff. Was it all even real? Was it all even real? I mean, we have history about it. We have paintings about it. We have all of this documents, all these documents about it. Was it even real? Who knows? It's just weird, interesting stuff. Could it have been a complete opposite of what it was? I don't know. But it's just the fact that just on its surface, it's not what we were told it was. It's something else than what we were told it was. Guy Fawkes, when I was, first hearing about it, I was told that he was just simply fighting the power. Fighting the powers that be. Remember the 5th of November so that we can, fight the power. But that's not it. It's completely backwards. He was trying to reinstall a bad religion so that the Catholics could get their monarchy back. Because it's called the Roman Catholics for a reason. There's something going on there. There's something to it. And I think it's interesting too that it wasn't even 60 years after this that you had the London fires, the 1666 fires. Tell me there's not something going on there. Tell me there's not something more to that. It's very interesting stuff. That's all I gotta say. Some people may look at that and say, well, we knew that all along. I said, okay, that's fine that you may have known that all along. But I didn't know that. I find that very, very interesting. There is a lot more to this world, this history, this life than we could ever possibly understand. And they're not telling us the whole truth. But they celebrate this guy. They celebrate it in the exact opposite way. Londoners were encouraged to celebrate the king's escape from assassination by lighting bonfires, provided that the testimony of joy be careful done without any danger or disorder. They celebrate Guy Fawkes nights because the king got away, and yet somewhere, somehow along the line, he's been turned into a sympathetic hero. I don't know, man. I don't know. That's, again, the mask. The mask comes from the mask that they used to put on a guy that they used to take on a procession down the streets, because they tortured the hell out of this dude. I don't know if anybody knows that or not. They tortured the shit out of this guy. Pulled him down the streets and did all kinds of bad stuff to him. Was drawn and quartered, and then his body parts were distributed evenly to the four corners of the kingdom, as displayed as a warning to other would-be traitors. Why does that sound like Nimrod? Man, there's something else going on there. I don't know. All right, guys. I am going to stop. I just wanted to say that because, you know, we have an example of a tale that's completely different than what we were told. It's told in reverse, just like everything else. And some people may have known it. Some people may not have known it. I didn't know it. So when I hear stuff like that, the only thing I can say is, well, I got to point this out first, and I got to tell you, well, what they tell you is completely different than what we find. And not only that, but the bad guy was turned into a good guy. And now I just feel sickened by the whole thing, you know? We've been convinced into following behind this icon that is completely opposite of what we thought it was. We need to seriously reevaluate everything. This is why I said we have to, starting with a blank slate. It's hard to start with a blank slate, but holy smokes, we need to really, really think about what's going on here. All right, I'm going to stop. I shall talk to y'all later. God bless you all. Take care of yourselves. 329, man. I don't know. I don't know if it means anything or not. Just watch what's going on. I shall talk to everyone later. Take care.